Radhamadava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivarachari Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivarachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granta Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this morning's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class at Krishna House in Gainesville. So we'll begin with our auspicious invocation. Grab that clock so I know. Oh, I can't read those. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together. Naranam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtapayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutamashloke bhaktir bhakti naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by regular service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise and transcendental songs is established as a beautiful path. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. So we're reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, called Explanation of, anyone want to guess what word? Of devotional service. Woo. And we're on text, we're going to start with text 15. So just a small little recap is that Devahuti inquired, "My dear Lord, you have already scientifically described the symptoms of the total material nature, the characteristics of the spirit according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Now I shall request you to explain the path of devotional service, which is the ultimate end of all philosophical systems." So at this point, Devahuti just asked her son to explain devotional service. So why is that important for us? Because we're trying to be devotees. And yeah, Kapiladev, he's going to present with us some very foundational principles of bhakti. As we saw yesterday, talking about the unadulterated devotional service, uninterrupted, haituki. Can someone please read the translation for text 15?
The devotee must execute his prescribed duties which are glorious, without material profit, without excessive violence, and should regularly perform one's devotional activities.
Or, sorry, we'll just talk a little bit about each verse before we go on. Does anyone have an idea what glorious means in this context? What does it mean that we should do our duties that are glorious? I saw Banu first, and then Anasuya.
It would mean that doing those duties is worthy of praise, worthy to be glorified.
Okay,
Doing those duties.
nice. Anasuya?
Those activities which glorify Krishna.
Jai. So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada breaks down in the purport that unless we're doing our prescribed duties according to our nature, it's difficult for it to be glorious. We have to act in our position, but this doesn't mean we can't serve the Supreme Lord in any of these positions. He breaks down how the Brahmana can serve the Lord using his intelligence, the Kshatriya using military arts like Arjuna, and that the damsels of Vrajadam were born in the Vaishya category, the mercantile category, and they were the highest servants. And Vidura, who was a Shudra, was one of the most elevated devotees in the Mahabharata. And he says here, everyone's prescribed duty is glorious if it is performed in devotional service of the Lord without desire for profit. So it's we're getting a little insight from Prabhupada on how our duties can be glorious. Can someone please read the next verse?
The devotee should regularly see my statues in the temple, touch my lotus feet, and offer worshipful paraphernalia and pray. He should see in the spirit of renunciation, in the mode of goodness, and see every living entity as spiritual.
So I wanted to go through the purport of this. I think we can go fast enough, but it's a really nice purport. So, yeah. Someone want to read the first paragraph? Banu?
Temple worship is one of the duties of a devotee. It is especially recommended for neophytes, but those who are advanced should not refrain from temple worship. There is a distinction in the manner a neophyte and an advanced devotee appreciate the Lord's presence in the temple. A neophyte considers the Archa Vigraha, the statue of the Lord, to be different from the original personality of Godhead, in the form of a deity. But an advanced devotee accepts the deity in the temple as the supreme personality of Godhead. He does not see any difference between the original form of the Lord and the statue or the archer form of the Lord in the temple, the vision of a devotee whose devotional service is in the highest stage of bhava, or love of Godhead, whereas the neophyte's worship in the temple is a matter of routine duty.
Okay. So the rest of this purport is also quite relevant to the topic we're going to be focusing on. But Srila Prabhupada is saying that there's two types of devotees. There's the beginner devotee, the neophyte, and then there's the advanced devotee. We're going to keep on in the purport. And he's saying that the beginner devotee looks at deities and they say, okay, this is a representation of God. This is like, it's supposed to maybe remind us of God, but the advanced devotee sees, oh, that's actually Krishna. Krishna is actually present there. I know one time I was walking through the temple showing some newcomers the temple room, and I was like, oh yeah, and these deities, they represent God. So then I read this and I was like, such a neophyte. But actually this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda personally present, though some of us don't have the eyes to see it all the way, but this is the understanding that Srila Prabhupada is giving us. I think I'll quickly read the rest of the purport, just for the matter of time. Temple worship is one of the functions of a devotee. He goes regularly to see the deity nicely decorated, and with veneration and respect, he touches the lotus feet of the Lord and presents offerings of worship, such as fruits, flowers, and prayers. At the same time, to advance in devotional service, a devotee should see other living entities as spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is to offer respect to every entity that has a relationship with the Lord, because every living entity originally has a relationship with the Lord as part and parcel. A devotee should try to see all living entities on the same equal level of spiritual existence, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. A pandita, one who is learned, sees equally a very learned brahmana, a shudra, a hog, a dog, and a cow. He does not see the body, which is an outward dress. He does not see the dress of a brahmana, or that of a cow, or a hog. He sees the spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. If a devotee does not see every living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he is considered prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee. He is not completely situated on the spiritual platform. Rather, he is in the lowest stage of devotion. He does, however, show all respect to the deity. I'll continue. Although a devotee sees all living entities on the level of spiritual existence, he's not interested in associating with everyone. Simply because a tiger is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord does not mean that we embrace him because of his spiritual relationship with the Supreme Lord. We must associate only with persons who have developed Krishna consciousness. We should befriend and offer special respects to persons who are developed in Krishna consciousness. Other living entities are undoubtedly part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but because their consciousness is still covered and not developed in Krishna consciousness, we should renounce their association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he is not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava. But a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. The exact meaning of the word satvena is given by Sridhar Swami as being synonymous with dhairyena, or patience. One must perform devotional service with great patience. One should not give up the execution of devotional service because one or two attempts have not been successful. One must continue. Sri Rupa Goswami also confirms that one should be very enthusiastic and execute devotional service with patience and confidence. Patience is necessary for developing the confidence that Krishna will certainly accept me because I am engaging in devotional service. One has only to execute service according to the rules and regulations to ensure success. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So did anything stand out to you? What was one of the main points Srila Prabhupada was making there? Bobby, you can just call it out. Patience. Anyone else? What was one of the main points?
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Okay.
Association.
Okay. Does anyone remember the analogy? A tiger. So just because, we're on this transcendental platform where we see all souls as one, all souls as equal, we have that vision, but does that mean we're going to go hug a tiger? So no, we're not going to hug a tiger. I found it interesting. I've heard this analogy before, but it was nice to read it from Srila Prabhupada's purport of him saying this. So no, we wouldn't hug a tiger, or we wouldn't go into, a war zone and say, oh, we're all spirit souls, part and parcel of each other. But actually, we need to be intelligent with our association. And Prabhupada says, even among Vaishnavas, we should be sure to keep company of those with good character, of those who inspire us, of those who are developed in their Krishna consciousness and who are developing these good qualities. So it's almost, Prabhupada saying it's not exactly enough to just be a Vaishnava, but we should be trying to cultivate these devotional qualities. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? Advaita Chayapu?
I thought it was very.
I can repeat it in the mic. Or
It was kind of funny. One must continue. Just because of one or two attempts had not been successful. So that was very funny.
Yeah. Has anyone ever felt that before, that you have one or two attempts that aren't successful in bhakti? Yeah. So.
The part where choosing association within devotees. I've heard several senior devotees say that, pick our friends even among devotees. But it seems to me like a father wouldn't be very pleased if his children didn't get along. So do you have anything you can say on that?
Yeah, well, Srila Prabhupada, he says here that they may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava, though they don't have those qualities. So even though someone may not be all the way at the perfected stage, Prabhupada is saying, still you can offer them respect, though they should be avoided. So kind of like the tiger, we respect the tiger, but from a distance. Although devotees, we shouldn't see them as tigers. But sometimes you can encounter a devotee and they have perhaps some views or some practices or some ideologies that could be very dangerous to your bhakti. Yes, they chant Hare Krishna, but they think very critical ways about Srila Prabhupada, or about your spiritual master, or about the way that things are being run. And you can respect, wow, for someone to be chanting the holy name, they must have undergone all kinds of austerities in previous lives, but still say, this might be dangerous for my bhakti. Yeah. So the next few verses are going to talk about this a little more. We can read, can someone read text 17?
The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. But all his activities should be executed under regulation and with control of the senses.
Yeah, so there are these three types of relationships we're seeing here. Can someone break it down for me? How do we interact with our juniors in Krishna consciousness? Or compassionate. What does that mean to be compassionate to our juniors in Krishna consciousness? Tell them they're in Maya, huh? Yeah, sometimes you have to do that, for sure.
To understand their difficulties and, like, as we were talking yesterday, not judge the person itself, but the action meaning that they are not that developed.
Yeah. Yeah, just on that, why do we understand their position is because we used to be in their position. So Krishna gives us so many challenges, and we might think, oh, why am I going through these challenges? But perhaps in the future we can be compassionate upon those who are going through what we had to go through. Narada Muni Prabhu.
in the morning when we chant Shri Krishna Kirtan together, tolerance and compassion is like used as one word, like one quality, tolerance and compassion. So I think tolerance comes to mind.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you'll really have to use intolerance because people come in with all kinds of baggage and all kinds of trauma and all kinds of unworked through emotional difficulties sometimes, and sometimes they'll lash out at you and you have to kind of just say, it's not about me, this person's just going through something. We're all working on the process, and yeah, you have to be tolerant. I know I made my seniors tolerate a lot. So why should we not tolerate our juniors too? And so now for our equals, what do we do? Friendship. What does that mean? Pizza? Yeah. Pizza. Chocolate chip cookies at 9:20 p.m. Anasuya?
Well, what is friendship in the process?
I would say kind of like the encouragement becomes a little more intimate. We're able to step into those devotional relationships where we are revealing our hearts to one another, and we're exchanging meaningful experiences with those people. We're cultivating a mood that we are seeing in the acharyas from our friends.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so that's the main thing with friends. Actually, Nectar of Instruction talks about this, but to reveal our mind to our friends and to inquire from our friends. Sometimes with seniors, it can be a little tense to really to talk about, sometimes in front of a senior, you don't want to talk about certain things which are a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, or sometimes seniors they can be quite busy, or what you're going through in a day-to-day might not exactly be so relevant, but the people who are around us every day, our friends, we can share quite openly. And sometimes if we share our struggles with a junior, then it can kind of stress them out. It can kind of put them into absorbing our struggles or absorbing our doubts. And then it's like, it's not helpful for them. So that's why it's helpful for our peers, our equals, our friends that we share in that way. And for the seniors, what do?
We learn from them.
We learn from them, okay? And thoughts? What does the text say?
We have reverence and take shelter of them.
Reverence and take shelter of them, yeah. When do we do that?
When we perform devotional service for them.
Yeah, we do it every day. I was thinking specifically, we just did it earlier, the Shri Guru Vandanam. It's a very reverential prayer. I know we in ISKCON we kind of robot it, the lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which. But I would invite you to look into the translation deeper of this verse. We're hearing the lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. Just wrap your head around that for a second. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. That's the whole verse in itself. You could meditate on for so long. Yeah, Jesus is the only. I was actually talking to some Christians the other day, and I was like, we believe the same thing. The only way to God is through the Son, is through the devotee. And so, yeah, the lotus feet are the only way by which we can attain Kevala Bhakti. It's not just Bhakti. It's not just Bhakti mixed with material desires. Srila Prabhupada is giving us pure Bhakti. And his service to his lotus feet are the only way to reach it. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering. So you think of this gigantic ocean of material suffering. By the way, we sing this every day, like this extremely profound prayer. By his grace, one can cross over the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Krishna prapti. Prapti means sometimes yogis, they get extremely powerful and they can reach their hand and grab anything in the universe and bring it. That's called Prapti Siddhi. So we're saying here that the spiritual master can give us Krishna. The spiritual master gives us the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master takes us on this boat over the ocean of material misery. By his grace, we can attain the mercy of Krishna. What's the next line? My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. That's the mood of the disciples. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from Srila Prabhupada's mouth and from the purports in his books. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. Shri Guru Charane Rati. Charana, we sing Charanarvindam, lotus feet. Charane Rati, attachment to his lotus feet, is the perfection that fulfills all desires. That is our perfection in spiritual life. This attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is our perfection. All the desires that we could ever have. Oh, I want to see Krishna one day. Oh, I want to serve in this way. Oh, I want to, do this and do that. And even perhaps the material desires are the basis of our perfection is attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master. We're singing that every single day. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Bhakti. And then Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. So their mercy fulfills all desires. Puri Sarva Asha. And then I find that this prayer actually escalates the further you go. So it goes, Chakshudan Dilo Jai, Janmay Janmay Prabhu say, he opens my darkened eyes. So kind of like the prayer we say. The spiritual master opens our darkened eyes, fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. He's my Lord, birth after birth. What do you guys think about that? Birth after birth. So Narottam Das Thakur, he's praying very, very reverentially to his guru. That birth after birth, the spiritual master is my Lord. The Charya is going, oh no. So birth after birth, is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. Ecstatic prema is shooting out of the spiritual master. That's literally what it means. What does emanating mean? Prema bhakti, pure love of God, is just radiating off of Srila Prabhupada. It's radiating off of the spiritual master. And you can see that. I remember I was in Mayapur and it was Guru Puja and we were saying, Prema bhakti jaha hoite, avejavi nashayate. And you just see this wave of devotees just with their hands up, just exploding in Krishna consciousness because they're worshipping Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is right there. Prema bhakti is shooting out of him and hitting all of the conditioned souls. Avidya vinashayate. He is destroying the ignorance. What's the from him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and Master of devotees. So that now we're getting into the last part that we sing. He's an ocean of mercy. How merciful has Srila Prabhupada been? He went through all these difficulties to come here and give us Krishna consciousness. He's an ocean of mercy, friend of the poor. Who's the poor? We're poor. I think I wouldn't say most of us, but I think some of us are materially a little poor, but also we can consider ourselves spiritually poor because, we can also consider ourselves spiritually very rich too, compared to the rest of society. But when we look at someone who has Krishna in their possessions, what do we have? We have empty pockets. This person has Krishna himself. And so he's the friend of the poor and Lord and Master of the devotees. And then we get to the final part. We sing, Haha Prabhu Korodoya Dehomore Padachaya. Oh Master, please be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. So we're asking, please, give me the shade of your feet. Narottam Das Thakur is so desperate when he's writing this. Ha Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Parachaya. Ebe Jasha Gushuk Tribhuvana. So the glories of the spiritual master are spread throughout all the planetary systems. You know, sometimes we think that, oh, in this world, Srila Prabhupada is kind of a niche personality, that he's not so well known, and there's like this weird small group of people who kind of worship. Actually, the glories of the devotee of Krishna are eternal. We read in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we're reading about Devahuti. Devahuti lived like millions and millions and millions of years ago. She was practically at the beginning of creation, if you think about it. How famous is a person that we're still reading about them today? Why? Because they were a devotee. So even the demigods, they know of the glory of Srila Prabhupada, yet sometimes we forget it. So anyways, that was little breakdown on how we offer great respect to the spiritual master. Now let's go to our actual verse of the day, and we'll go kind of quick so that there's time for discussion. Can we do the Sanskrit? Maybe we'll just have like 2 devotees chant it too. Adhyatmikanu Shravanam Saṅkīrtanashame Arjavanarya Sangena Nirahan Kriyayatata. Please recite.
Adhyatmikanu Shravanam
Adhyatmikanu Shravanam nāma-saṅkīrtana
Arjavinaraya Sangena Nirahan
Nirahaṅkriyayatata. Adhyatmikanu Shravanam nāma-saṅkīrtana Real quick, does anyone recognize any words in here? Saṅkīrtana, nāma-saṅkīrtana, what does that mean?
The movement of the holy names.
Jai, the chanting of the holy names. Any other words? Sangena, what does that mean? With association, yeah. Anything else?
I see Kriya.
Kriya. Oh yeah, yeah, Kriya's in there. Anyone see Shravanam? So that means hearing too. Adhyatmika, yeah, that means spiritual matters. So let's do the word for word quickly. All together. Adhyatmika, spiritual matters. Anushravanat, from hearing. Nāma-saṅkīrtana, from chanting the holy name. Cha, and. Me, my. Arjavena, with straightforward behavior. Arya Sangena, with association of saintly persons. Nirahaṅkriyaya, without false ego. Tata, thus. Okay. Can someone read the translation, please?
A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple. And although he is not envious or friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced.
Okay, so we're again seeing about avoiding the company of those who are not spiritually advanced. I think for the time's sake, I'll read the purport and I'll try to read it in such a way that you guys don't fall asleep. So let's start. Translation and purport. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In order to advance in spiritual understanding, one has to hear from authentic sources about spiritual knowledge. One can understand the reality of spiritual life by following strict regulative principles and by controlling the senses. To have control, it is necessary that one be nonviolent and truthful, refrain from stealing, abstain from sex life, and possess only that which is absolutely necessary for keeping the body and soul together. One should not eat more than necessary. He should not collect more paraphernalia than necessary. He should not talk unnecessarily with common men. And he should not follow the rules and regulations without purpose. He should follow the rules and regulations so that he may actually make advancement. So we're just going to digest this real quick. Did anything stand out to you from there? You can just call it out.
Do the regulative principles with purpose.
Yes, do the regular principles with purpose. So we're not here to just do some rituals and not understand the reason behind it. We're not here to just fast because we're supposed to be hungry today, or we are meant to understand the purpose of the principles here. Anything else that stood out to you?
Yeah, Prabhupada is, I guess, taking the NOI.
He took the nectar instruction and putting it in the purport. Yeah, this is actually, whoever's been coming to the evening class, this is basically the same thing. Don't eat too much, control the tongue. Yeah, Bacho Vega, Manasakro de Vega. In the back, Ronald?
Do not talk unnecessarily with
Common men.
Common men?
Yeah. What did you think about that?
It just stuck out to me. I kind of wanted to ask, I guess, why? Or like, what does that like mean unnecessarily?
We'll get into it actually. Okay. That's kind of the theme of this. So we'll touch back on that. So, anyways, yeah, this is who can say that they're doing all of this, all these principles here.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah, it's a spectrum. Yeah, so we're meant to work our way up. We'll continue. There are 18 qualifications mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, among which is simplicity. One should be without pride. One should not demand unnecessary respect from others, and one should be nonviolent. Amani tvam adam bitvam ahimsa. One should be very tolerant and simple. One should accept the spiritual master, and one should control the senses. These are mentioned here and in the Bhagavad Gita as well. One should hear from authentic sources how to advance in spiritual life. Such instructions should be taken from the Acharya and should be assimilated. It is especially mentioned here, nāma-saṅkīrtana. One should chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Either individually or with others. Lord Chaitanya has given special stress to chanting these holy names of the Lord as the basic principle of spiritual advancement. Another word used here is arjavena, meaning without diplomacy. A devotee should not make plans out of self-interest. Of course, preachers sometimes have to make some plan to execute the mission of the Lord under proper guidance. But regarding personal self-interest, a devotee should always be without diplomacy. And he should avoid the company of persons who are not advancing in spiritual life. Another word is Arya. Aryans are persons who are advancing in Krishna, advancing in knowledge of Krishna consciousness, as well as in material prosperity. The difference between the Aryans and non-Aryans, the Sura and the Asura, is in their standards of spiritual advancement. Association with persons who are not spiritually advanced is forbidden. Wow, that's heavy, huh? Lord Chaitanya advised, asat sangha tyaga. One should avoid persons who are attached to the temporary. Asat is one who is too materially attached, who is not a devotee of the Lord, and who is too attached to women or enjoyable material things. Such a person, according to Vaishnava philosophy, is a persona non grata. By the way, when Srila Prabhupada is saying women, it basically means someone who's too attracted to the opposite sex, or someone who's too lusty, you could say, or the same sex. Yeah. A devotee should not be proud of his acquisitions. The symptoms of a devotee are meekness and humility. Although spiritually very advanced, he will always remain meek and humble, as Kaviraj Goswami and all the other Vaishnavas have taught us by personal example. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that one should be humbler than the grass on the street and more tolerant than the tree. One should not be proud or falsely puffed up. In this way, one will surely advance in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before we get into it, I'll tell you a little story, although we're running out of time very quick. So I'll tell you a little story. There was once this monkey, and he lived in a tree, and he had this big mango, and he was eating his mango, and his mango fell on the ground. So he goes on the ground on the bank of the river to pick up his mango, and there's a crocodile right there. And somehow the crocodile and this monkey actually became good friends. So every day they would meet on the shore and they would hang out, talk about how life's going. The crocodile had a wife crocodile who was living like deep in the river, and she didn't really want to come out and meet the monkey so much. But they were hanging out all the time. This monkey and this crocodile. And so then one day the crocodile goes home and his wife is like, "You're spending all day with that monkey. I want you to go to see your monkey friend, and I want you to bring me his heart so I can eat it for lunch." So this crocodile's like, "Oh man, I gotta go get my friend and bring his heart to my crocodile wife." So he goes to the shore and he feels a little bad. He's sitting there, and the monkey can kind of sense something's a little different with their meeting today. But the crocodile says, "Hey monkey, I want to show you where I live. I want to show you my house. It's in the middle of the pond. I want to show you my house." So the monkey is like, "Okay, sure." So the monkey hops on the back of the crocodile, and the crocodile starts swimming out. It's a really funny story. So the crocodile, he's telling the monkey, he's like, "So, we're already out here. We're almost to the middle of the lake. I have to tell you, I'm actually gonna give your heart to my wife, crocodile. We're gonna eat you." And the monkey is like, "Oh, I wish you told me earlier. I left my heart in the tree." So, okay, just bring me back to the shore. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get back on the shore. I'm gonna climb up the tree. I'm gonna get my heart, and then we'll go out back to see your wife. So the crocodile's like, "Oh, okay, great. Thank God." Brings the monkey back to the shore. And what does the monkey do?
Go
Gators. Go Gators. He climbs up the tree. "See you later, crocodile." So how does this story relate to this? Basically, I actually remember there was a newcomer in Krishna consciousness, and he said, "This is so cultish that you can't speak to anyone outside of your cult." And that, anyone who's not a devotee is, you're not allowed to talk to them. So that's actually not what we're talking about here. We're talking about association in a deep way, in a way that is
First was too entangled.
too entangled.
Sometimes describing in association.
Yeah. So we're seeing here what happened. Has anyone ever had an experience very dear to them, and you share it with a friend, and the friend's kind of like, "Okay, whatever," and it makes you feel sad about it. It makes you feel they didn't value something that was dear to me. They didn't value something that was important to me. So similarly, when we are with people who do not understand Krishna consciousness, for us to put our whole self out there is to put ourselves in danger of them criticizing us, of them saying, "What are you even doing with your life? Stop telling me about this Krishna, you're crazy." And, you could say, "Oh, it doesn't affect me when it," actually, it hurts. If someone calls you crazy, someone says that, everything that you're believing in is nonsense, it will have an effect on your bhakti. It will make you have doubts. It'll make you feel sad. So we can try to be like the monkey, perhaps. Krishna is the deepest part of our hearts. And so we leave our hearts at home. When we have to interact with the world, we can leave our heart at home. And yeah, we leave our heart right here, and then our heart's not in danger anymore. So we are around these people, but we're able to still love them. We're able to still be respectful. We're able to still trust them in some ways, and especially with like our family and things like that. But that deep part of our heart, we left it at home. No one's gonna eat our Krishna heart today, so we left it in the tree. That was the main point that I wanted to go through today. That was emphasized both in this verse and the previous verse. And now we can open up for a little bit of discussion, questions. Banu, Guru? And then, or Anasuya, if you want to go first.
This was a nice class. I was thinking about, I often use this metaphor with people because of my age, that in joining this Krishna consciousness movement, it's kind of like I went to Hogwarts and everyone else in my life is a muggle. They don't really understand this wizarding world and the jargon and the snacks and the clothes and in that way, and in this example of leaving our hearts at home, I was thinking about how complicated it and how much time it takes to explain 2, 5, 10, 20 years of spiritual progress and knowledge to people who have never even come into the temple room. And so when we're explaining our spiritual life to people who don't understand and aren't spiritually realized, it's just requiring so much effort that we could be using for our devotional service, to take the time to explain, well, the reason we wake up at this time is because of this, and that is this, and this snack is made out of that. And often this is the relationship that is best used in what you were talking about earlier, which is juniors. If I'm going to spend the time to fully explain my entire lifestyle to someone, I want to explain it to someone who also has an interest in taking it up. And I was thinking in this Harry Potter analogy that in the books, the one girl, Hermione, she's from a family that isn't magical. And she's having to make so many accommodations for her family all the time to hide magic from them. And then once she grows up, she has this freedom to be herself suddenly. And actually, we're all grown up here. And so we have some autonomy and freedom in our relationship with Krishna. We can choose by the association of our peers and senior devotees how we choose to share this bhakti with the people in our lives, while also having boundaries, like you were saying, and protect our hearts. So I thought those were all really nice points. But I needed to share my Harry Potter muggle analogy because it's just always in my mind.
Yeah, actually, I was hearing before, Srila Prabhupada, he had this one disciple who was saying, okay, Prabhupada, I can get the chanting. I can get meditation helps you and chanting Hare Krishna is good. But like the 4 heads and the riding on giant swans and the extraterrestrial travel and all the kind of crazy stuff, I just can't wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around, that this lotus flower came out of God's belly button and it had Brahma on it, and then, then he created, different beings from different parts of it. He's just like, I can get the chanting, but I can't wrap my head around all that. And Prabhupada said, that's fine. Just focus on the chanting. You don't have to understand how this person has 10 arms. You don't have to understand what that sweet is made out of. You don't have to understand who every single deity on the altar in New Vrindavan is, because there's like 15 deities on the altar. But you can explain the main thing, the chanting. It's something they can grasp. It's something tangible. It's something accessible to everyone. You say, God is present in his names. When you chant God's names, you're in the presence of God, and you make spiritual advancement, and you feel bliss. It's quite straightforward. It's quite practical. anyone can wrap their head around it. And in time, they'll be familiarized with the 10-armed, 8-faced, 4,800,000 yada yadas. But we can keep it simple for those who are new. And then, with juniors, we can get a little more into the practical of it all. So thanks for sharing that. Banu?
I wanted to say that the video of the monkey and the crocodile is in the casual group chat.
Yeah.
It's in the real. And so I have a friend back at home, and he's favorable towards the devotees. He likes that, like, I'm a monk in Saffron, and I try to practice the regulative principles. And sometimes I can get him to come to the temple. He loves the prasad. He wants to come back. But sometimes I struggle with who's giving who association. Like, I try to relate with him in a way and give him something edifying in my association with him. But sometimes he wants to talk to me about, like, his gambling escapades that he's had and other things. And it's like a difficult thing. Where do I draw the line?
Narada and then Sundari Leela.
Please come down to this for a second. I've never appreciated the mindset of, like, I have to give someone my association. It feels rude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the wording. Something about it has never sat right.
Mm-hmm.
And because I like to leave the heart at home thing, like the innermost chambers of your heart. Yeah, that takes time and trust and respect, and you want it to be someone who's devotional and who has a concept of the soul, so you can actually be deep, But this idea that we have to go out and we can't talk nonsense and we can only give people association and only talk about Krishna, like, defeats the whole relational aspect of bhakti yoga.
Yeah. I think for some, it'll resonate with us, give association. For others, it might not resonate. I'd say perhaps you could think of it as, I'm bringing my best self into this conversation. I'm bringing, because what is real preaching? Preaching is our character. Preaching is our open heart. So when you bring that to the conversation, they feel it. It's more than just telling them this and telling them that. But when you fully show up with your devotional qualities, that is giving them your association. You can think of it, I'm just fully showing up in this. And I was thinking, sometimes if there's a teacher and the kids, if the teacher is like, not to say that, oh, I'm the teacher and you're just a kid now, but when we be situated in ourselves, when we're confident in our own identity, in our own values, in our own principles, we're not going to start making noise and throwing stuff like the rest of the kids in the classroom. No, actually, I know who I am, and I'm bringing that to this environment. I'm not compromising my identity in this space. Now, does the identity mean the externals, that I have to wear the mud on my face and the orange cloth? No, the identity is our identity of devotion. So when we enter that environment, we don't compromise our values. We don't compromise our position in that way. And perhaps they will compromise their position of atheism or of, we're open to them in that way. But anyways, Sundari Leela, you had a point? And then Kalindi?
I once heard this distinction that a regulative principle is not regulative rules.
Is it what?
So there's a difference between a principle and a rule.
Mm-hmm.
A rule is established based upon a principle.
Mm-hmm.
The principle can be manifested in multivariate rules. For example, Srila Prabhupada says, if Kali Yuga progresses to such a point where there isn't any vegetarian food, you still preach, but you eat the meat because you need sustenance. So the rule is that don't eat animals right now. But the principle is non-violence. So the principle is if we follow that, then we meet success. But if we get too stuck on the rules, then we actually become inflexible. And sometimes we actually miss the point.
Yeah.
That I wanted to mention.
Yeah, it's like we put the, keep the first thing first. Keep the principle in mind for all these rules. Clindy?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for Thank you so much for class. It's been very nice. I was just thinking, listening to everyone, he opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge, right? It doesn't say fills my mind with transcendental knowledge. Fills my heart. And looking at the three different types of association, I always see it as you give mercy, you share mercy, and you receive mercy with the three different types. So when we're talking about association, this is still loving exchanges, but we are ultimately, because of this spiritual knowledge, because of this opening of our eyes and this transcendental knowledge, we will only be giving mercy to others that don't have that. And when you give and give and give, you can feel depleted after some time. So that's why it's important to have this like-minded association, so you can joyfully lead with some, and it's also a senior association, so you can receive that mercy. Because if you don't receive the mercy, you can't give what you don't have. So this is why I always think of it like that with this outside association. It's not, and it's not about age either. That's another thing. Somebody can be very senior to you, or younger than you, or age doesn't matter. It's the transcendental knowledge that one has filled in their heart, which will make them more senior or not. But so either you give mercy, you exchange mercy, you receive mercy.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful way to look at it. Oh yeah, I was expecting him to come in here. All right. Thank you all for your attention and attentiveness. I'll just read one sentence, okay? This is the final verse. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is present everywhere. This is text 20. So if we do these principles of bhakti, we can catch Krishna and don't let him go forever. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantar Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Nantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Hari Bol.